Bushwick initiative's been around for about 6 years. The original goal was to really reduce the amount of litter on the streets of Bushwick because we have a pretty big litter issue in this neighborhood. But over the years, and I'm going to shout out Katerina here, especially when Precycle opened, and I went to Precycle and I bought the book, the Zero Waste book that you had there. And it really was eye-opening to me how much I thought I was an environmentalist because I was like vegetarian or because I cared about the issues, but how little I was actually doing in my own day-to-day life. So from reading that book and really thinking about these issues more, I started to incorporate more sustainability and just more information and education around how individuals can make less of an impact negatively on this planet. And so I try to bring elements of that into all of the events we do, whether it be collaborating with other people who are like-minded and mission-driven in the same ways, like Cup Zero or Deliver Zero, and just other community organizations who care about these things, or even here at the Jazz Club, people who just are aware of these issues and who are trying to do their part. But also, my own day-to-day life, really living that mission, right? So thinking very much about what I purchase and how I live my life day to day in regards to the climate and the climate emergency that we're in. And I also became a tree care captain with the Parks Department, so I love to incorporate tree care into the events that we do, because obviously trees are a huge, they're huge in the environmental landscape, right? There's many neighborhoods that have less trees than other neighborhoods. That's really a byproduct of redlining from decades ago, where certain neighborhoods really do not have trees as a byproduct of that. And trees capture carbon, they reduce flooding, they create shade, they reduce disease. So there's a lot that goes along with all these different issues. So something else that I learned along the way was that you cannot be involved with one of these issues without realizing the intersection of all of the other issues. Whether you're talking about environmental justice, whether you're talking about mental health, physical health, inequity in so many ways. There's just so many intersections when you're talking about these issues, and litter really impacts a lot of issues in a neighborhood and in the country. So it's been a really eye-opening journey these 6 years to go from the aesthetics of litter in a neighborhood and how that makes people feel, but then realizing the magnitude of what litter represents. So yeah, that's really.
And the Clean Bush Initiative, if anybody wants to be part of it, participate in, what would be the best way to reach out?
So we do a lot of Instagram posting, and I have found that that's really great and has been a wonderful way to meet and collaborate with other people. But I also know that it's limited because there's so many people that are not on social media. So to be more inclusive and to reach more people, I'm really trying other things. I actually put up posters for the Earth Day events. I typically don't do things like that because imagine them falling off and winding up as litter. So there's always all these kind of catch-22s with this sort of stuff. But I'm doing more emails, trying to raise awareness that way and bring more people in by having them join our mailing list if maybe they're not on social media. I'm not personally on social media, so I know that that's a thing.
So
and yeah.
Best way is for people to go to your
the website or the Instagram, yeah, or email cleanbushwickinitiative@gmail.com. I always like to collab with people
and you can have regularly at least once or twice a month of cleaning.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, we definitely have 1 or 2 events, if not more, a month. And if anyone wants to do an event or needs help hosting a cleanup or some sort of a workshop or a tree care event, I'm always happy to help people with what they're doing.
I know you just did an event. We did it together yesterday, but do you have anything coming up that you want to let people know?
Yeah, so we have May 15th confirmed. We are doing an event with the skateboard community in Bushwick. So it's with a group called Art Jam Collective. It will be an event where we'll do a community cleanup in and around Maria Hernandez Park. we'll come back, we'll talk about the garbage, we'll do some education. The person that I'm partnering with that event really wants to bring awareness, environmental awareness and education to the skateboarding community. So I'm excited for that event. And then confirmed also, I believe it's June 12th, we're partnering up with the Newtown Creek Alliance and the Department of Environmental Protection to do a rain garden education event. So that's going to be a great event. But I know that we're also trying to partner up with a group in Bed-Stuy and then another resident who really wants to clean the areas sort of between Bed-Stuy and Bushwick, along sort of in this area along Broadway and maybe Myrtle. So we're working on collaborating with some people to host, get the two neighborhoods together and do a cleanup along these corridors here. Yeah, thank you.
Great. So that was Nicole from
Thanks so much.
Bushwick Initiative, and its next one is Katerina from Precycle.
Hello everyone, thank you for being here and thank you so much for hosting this beautiful event. As you know, my name is Katerina and I'm founder of Precycle. Precycle is a zero waste grocery store located on Cypress and Star here in Bushwick. And the way it works is we encourage customers to bring their own containers to acquire food, a good food, locally and sustainably sourced. And I started thinking about this idea about 7 years ago when my kindergartner came home from school. He had sustainability lesson and he asked me, "Mommy, do you know how long this plastic will remain in landfill?" And that moment sort of it broke my heart because I thought, oh my God, we're leaving this planet to our next generations in this really bad shape. We made this mess, we have to do something about it. So I started to analyze my own household trash, literally looking into my trash bin and my recycling bin. And what I found is that a lot of the contents were either food or packaging, and that kind of led me to start this journey of eliminating one little piece of that trash at the time. And it was an interesting process, and it still is. It's an ongoing learning experience, but it's nevertheless very rewarding. And I think, especially when I started composting at home, I just saw a tremendous difference. And I think it's just lack of education around how much rotting food contributes to greenhouse emissions is a big issue. That's number one. And on a personal level, it also didn't make any sense. Like, I worked really hard to make money, to bring this food home, then unwrap it and literally put a lot of it in a trash bin. What was also shocking is that I learned that 8% of all the food costs that you buy in the store is actually packaging. So imagine that you go to the store, you buy $100 worth of groceries, you come home and you put $8 in your trash bin. So just these kind of combination of these things made me really frustrated and but also motivated to think about how I would like to shop as a customer, as a consumer. So 3 years later, it was a very long process. 3 years later, I was able to open Precycle. That was December 2018, and we've been around for over three years now. A lot of that time was actually during pandemic. It was a challenging time for everyone, but we made it through, and we were able to still serve our community through just curbside pickup for most of the pandemic. But right now we're open actually for in-store shopping, and it's very exciting.
What can people buy at your place?
So we have over 400 different products. It's a lot of just your dry goods in bulk, snacks, local produce, fruits. We have tofu. We do have some animal products such as yogurt and eggs. I think that's it. So pretty much everything you need to cook a wholesome meal, minus the meat and fish.
You just have to bring the container.
It's encouraged. definitely. But if you come unprepared, we have solutions. Yeah.
Do you still do like lifestyle products like bath and body products?
Yes, sorry. we do have a lot of household and personal care products, and we're excited because we're starting to work with local producers. We're creating this system where it's sort of it has dual effect. First of all, we can bring more products to our customer, and second of all, we can start conversations with businesses to improve their own operations. And I'll give you an example. For example, we work with a pasta sauce company here in Brooklyn that we sell their product in their own packaging, and we encourage customers to bring the glass jars back. And then when we go to pick up our next order from the company, we give them the empty jars and they reuse them. So it's a fully closed circle. So I don't think that the answer is in just putting something in a recycling bin. I think it's about reuse. So we're trying to create these kind of partnerships within a community so that we can spread awareness and learn. And,
You guys can ask questions afterward, but I was considering from Precycle. This Maria from Pinch, Zero Waste Food Design Catering Company.
I want to first give props because I think that Precycle was like one of the first things I remember when I moved to New York. That was like this permanent fixture that felt like it was like really inspirational to see a business that was like permanent in a local community, like not too far from where I lived at the time. So props to you, and like that was super inspirational because there at the time there was another store or two that was focusing on zero waste, but not outside of like a co-op, not a ton of grocery stores or things that focused on the thing that's like the biggest amount of waste that we consume, which is food waste. And so props to you on that. And I know that like inspired me a little bit to be like, oh my God, what if we had another like zero waste grocery store in like South Brooklyn? Because I live in Crown Heights now. I used to live not far from here on Troutman, but
Everyone wants a Precycle in their neighborhood.
Exactly.
That's a fact.
We're coming to everybody.
yes, coming to your neighborhood soon. I love that. So props to you, and also props to you because there are a lot of local organizations that have existed for quite some time, working on like quite literally the streets of New York and the streets of Brooklyn. And one of the things that you said reminded me, you said you were talking about like tree preservation and tree care, and Brooklyn used to be called the borough of churches and trees. And so it's like a great nod to that, to continue to take care of our landmarks that have been put here, but also the foundation of like what we've built on top of, which is land, and we're protected and supported by trees all the time. So props to you on that. My name's Maria. I work for a company called Pinch Food Design, which is a zero waste catering company based in Chelsea. I'm gonna take a breath. Like I haven't breathed in a second. I have been working for Pinch for about 6 months. Before that, I have spent the last 5 years or so focusing specifically on large-scale events and doing the most that I can to help divert as much waste as I can from landfills at those large-scale events. So I used to work in like the corporate events world, doing events from 1,000 to 5,000 guests in different places globally. And one of the things that I always noticed was that we were really behind on our waste and the way that we understood waste, the way that we dealt with waste, and it was really heartbreaking to see us go in and spend $1 million somewhere and to not give like one single shit about everything else around us. So that was really like kind of devastating to me, and sorry. I feel like I need a sip of water, to be honest. Can I take a sip, Sage? Thank you. I was gonna ask before, but I don't want to be rude. Thank you. So long story short, I was like super upset about it, and my company said that they gave a shit about the environment. We were really pushing sustainability. We had a chief sustainability officer at the moment. So I proposed a budget for our next event, and it was approved, and I was able to put in some really cool practices. So when I was looking for a new company to join post-pandemic, I was super stoked. Hi. A client of mine just walked into the room, actually, who I had a tasting with this week at Pinch Food Design. How are you? Thank you. So I've been with Pinch for about 6 months, and one of the big things that made me want to join Pinch was the fact that they are a zero waste company. And when I talked to them a little bit more about what that meant, because a lot of companies will just, the phrase greenwashing became popular recently, right? In the past few years, where it's like, let's call ourselves a zero waste company, but I didn't want to join something that was claiming to be zero waste, but not really like actually being zero waste. So one of the big things that I did when I started working there was taking a look at kind of every single part of the business and like how are we doing this? And thankfully they had done a lot of work with Columbia University and NYU to really look at their waste practices in a holistic sense. Anything from waste, water, and energy. Those are like the three biggest things. And yeah, so it's been a joy working for them and taking a moment to like re-audit and come up with a fresh set of eyes. We do just at every single event that we pop up into, we have a 4 streams waste system. So we have landfill, recycling, compost, and then we also do soft plastic recycling. New York City has a wonderful recycling program. We accept all hard plastics, which is wonderful and a lot more advanced than other places around the world. But soft plastics will always be the hardest plastics to recycle, and the likelihood, even though when you do specially recycle them, going anywhere past the landfill is at least something that we can do. So that's just something we do. That's part of our operations at every single event. And yeah, but we also try to do really creative and fun things that make it a little bit more accessible for people to talk about things like sustainability and waste. One of my favorite things that we do is a compost cocktail. So what we do is we take we take scraps from our kitchen. The first floor of our office is a commissary kitchen. It's where we prep all of our catering food. And the second floor is our office. So we'll take scraps once a week. I should say the kitchen does this. I don't do this. You could do this at home. But they take scraps and they make things like shrubs or different types of cordials and syrups from food scraps. So you can use things like beets and carrot scraps. You muddle them with some sugar and you add some vinegar and let it ferment for a couple of days and it creates a shrub that you can then add to a liquor, top with a little bit of club soda, and you have a compost cocktail. You also can do things like make cordials out of avocado pits is something that we do a lot, which is a super long and arduous process, but a really cool, super interesting, botanical, kind of earthy cocktail. So maybe one day I'll be able to bring it in. Yeah, actually, and I'm going to close the loop with a couple of weeks ago, Ria actually came to an event that a colleague of mine started and I started at Pinch called Responsible Parties. And it's a organization for folks that are in the events world or in the food and beverage world or semi-adjacent to it. And it's a event where we just meet up every quarter, every few months, and we try to do something volunteer-based, and we try to network, hang out, talk to each other, because sharing of resources is, I think, the thing that we all kind of need most. And it's also like the essence of what it means to host an event, right, is to be in person and in community and to share. So that's an organization we started called Responsible Parties, and hopefully in the future we really want to do something around here. So maybe we could do something with the Clean Bushwick Initiative, and yeah, so we'll probably be doing something in June. You can check us out on Instagram. There's like nothing up there right now for us, but yeah.